Welcome to New Breakpoint, Microsoft's digital event series designed for developers by developers. I'm Michelle Sandford, the Developer Engagement Lead for Australia, New Zealand and Asia. We're live on the second Thursday of every month, and if you are joining us live, then drop your questions into the chat because we will answer them as we go. And New Breakpoint has expanded across Asia Pacific, and today I am joined by Arnaud Lheureux, joining us from Singapore. Arnaud is a global black belt, and today we're talking about something every dev team has been struggling with for years. Platform engineering has long been about humans translating intent into pipelines and policies. So today we're asking a different question. What happens when the agents do the translation for us, safely, compliantly, and out loud? Arnaud, you've been on the show before, but for those that missed that episode, tell us a bit about your role and who you are before we start.
Thanks for having me again on the show, Michelle. Super happy to join you and share again today. My name is Arnaud. I'm in Singapore for now a little bit more than 10 years. I've been doing a lot of things at Microsoft, including, it was already like 7 years ago, the Cloud Adoption Framework, Terraform Landing Zone. So already a bit of platform engineering then, and we were trying to solve this very problem of deploying an enterprise with compliance, security, and trying to get that at speed. And that was quite a challenge by the time with the tools of the trade.
So something you've had in your mind for a long time, but only just now with the growth of agents and agentic AI, are you able to think about implementing a solution for it? So you'll have something that you're going to show us today that is called GitHape. If you were going to explain that to a platform team in one sentence, how would you do that, and what problem does it exist to solve?
So the problem that we solve is basically it takes time to create deployment templates that are matching with the enterprise security, governance, compliance criteria. It's very difficult, so we make that easy and in minutes instead of weeks.
That's cool. Last time you were on and you were talking about SpecKit, is this something that you use together with SpecKit or instead of SpecKit, or how do those fit together or not?
They fit together in the sense that I use pieces of SpecKit to engineer GitHape. I use bits of awesome Copilot as well, and bits of hypervelocity engineering core. So it's basically multiple agents you see that you come put at work to create other agents.
That's very cool. So you're bringing together all the best practices that are already out there and trying to build them into something that is really going to enable platform engineers to go a lot faster when build with a lot more confidence.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, why don't you show us a little bit of that, and then maybe that will make it a little bit clearer, because I know that when I'm looking at things, I can't understand until I start to see what we're talking about.
Right. A demo is worth 1,000 words. Is that what we say? Or
Indeed.
Okay, so let's get to my environment. So here, this is the repo, by the way. This is where we start. This is GitHape. So Azure repo organization, GitHape. It's right here. We'll put the link in the show notes, of course. You don't necessarily need to go there to clone it, because you usually you will clone it if you want to contribute it. But now we have a new surface that is available just this week. So I'm super happy to be here today, because you can go to VS Code in your marketplace and you can install GitHape just right there in your VS Code environment. So here you see it's the platform, but if I'm here, I just go and do GitHape in my extension, and I can just install it right away from VS Code. So that's the first, I would say, probably the easiest way to get GitHape. You can also have it into your CLI. So if you're using Copilot CLI, same thing. There's a slightly different instruction to install it, but it runs perfectly with Copilot CLI, so you can run it there. Okay, let's say I installed the plugin on my machine, and here, I'm in my chat session inside any repo, and I will have here. When I install GitHape, I have two things. I have GitHape and GitHape onboarding. And we can talk about the onboarding a bit later, but now I just want to show you a fast demo, and I want to say, okay, let's do GitHape together. So here I'm going to say deploy a key vault on a virtual network in Southeast Asia. So for now, simple prompt, right? But if you think about how you do it in the past, so if you look at platform engineering, right, the thing that has been existing in the past is we create a team or platform engineer, then they create templates, so Bicep or Terraform templates. And here you see where it's going. We have to have a key vault template, then a virtual network template. We need those two templates to talk to each other, hoping that they are on the same version of the REST API or the definition, so I can make them talk together and assemble them together. So already that simple of an operation takes a bit of time when you are to create the templates to achieve that. So the idea of GitHape, while it's executing, is really to be able to leverage AI in an orchestrated fashion. So we're not just going to ask AI here, as you see, to deploy randomly a key vault, but we're going to have an orchestrator, that's the role of GitHape, that is going to collect my requirement, verify the latest API for key vault for virtual network. It's going to check a well-architected framework, cloud adoption framework, the naming convention that we use in the enterprise. Is going to consider all of that for a template that it will create for me. And dynamically, this template is going to be verified for me that it matches, again, security, policy, and compliance criteria. Here you see, it's asking me a few questions, so just 4 questions. And let's call it demo Michel, for instance. And we'll say, okay, this is for a dev environment. This is the standard SKU or the premium key vault SKU. Let's do just the standard. Here it says, oh, you want a key vault accessible only for your VNet private, or you want it accessible through public IP. So here we're going to say, hey, I asked for a key vault on a VNet, so please make it private. So that's the question that we ask. And with this information, basically, as we said, it's going to get at the Azure ARM definition, the latest API, check that everything works together to assemble for me the ARM template that is going to match that. And this is what we see happening under our eyes here. It's going to gather the requirement, generate the ARM template, security gating, all of this. Then it's going to ask me, hey, are you sure you want to deploy this? And it will go on for me. There might be some hiccups on the way, but since it's agentic, it's going to fix it for me. So you see, we are matching here the fact that we are doing an agent that will orchestrate a few other agents, a few other skills to reach a purpose that we want to do. So think about it. Previously, as I mentioned, we were creating templates. Those templates were referring to maybe a provider that will go through a few layers of SDK implementation, delays, complexity to assemble. Here, I think we take a step back and we say, look, instead of having all those inferences, we focus on the outcome, which is being able to deliver a compatible, compliant with the policy, secure templates that match everything, and that will be focused on the outcome, really. I focus less on the interim artifacts that don't add value. I focus on the context and getting this running. We start to get into some known realm here.
I was wondering, like before you, like, because you just like you installed the thing in, you know, as an extension in VS Code, and then you just started doing stuff in chat. How do you, I mean, obviously you know it's using GitHape because you recognize those questions and that structured layout that it's brought to you there, but
Yep.
how would you know that it's using GitHape and not and not just using chat to do that? Because you could also ask those things in chat and it would do it without that same structure.
Yeah, absolutely. So here you see there's a very subtle thing that I put. I just click on that aspect. Here you see on the right-hand part of the chat, I picked GitHape.
I see. So that's the agent, right.
That's the agent. So I'm forcing the usage of the agent. Normally, based on the heuristics, it should be able to detect that, hey, I'm using GitHape, and it will detect sometimes. But I just want to be sure this needs to be guided by GitHape and go with it, right? So that's the way I force my way in. I could have also been on the general chat here, and I could have called it like at GitHape. And same thing, I ask, hey, deploy a key vault, whatever. That would have done the same thing. But
I see.
Yep. So this is what I do here. And maybe since you have the question, so here I'm on a special repo. I'm on the authoring repo where I create GitHape. But if I do that, you see that I click on here, this one, and it's coming from my local instances. If you do that when you install the plugin from your environment, it will actually lead you to your local cache on your IDE. But same thing. What I wanted to show you while it's running here, it's taking a bit of time, but that's normal. It's still faster than creating your templates, as you would imagine. Yeah. Here I'm showing you that this is actually an agent, and this agent will call those other agents, the Azure requirements gatherer, the templates generator, the resource deployer, and a bunch of other stuff, Azure principal architect, etc. Those agents are here as well, and they have a very specific job. As you see, principal architect is going to do a RAF review on my environment. And those are calling as well skills, as you would have seen in other topologies. Here, for instance, I'm having an Azure cost estimator. And it's knowing its job. It's just to go down and strip my basically my ARM templates that's going to be generated. Go find all the resource, all the meters, and give me the cost. So at the end, it's visible for my environment. Same thing. I have here my naming research, and my naming research knows that it will be able to find the good names under that URL. That's the CAF resource page. It can also look at some references that we embed for how to create our naming convention. And you see that those references are here, etc., etc. So it's a bit of, as usual, right? You have a bit of AI and something that we want to be deterministic. Then you have the scripts that are here in Shell or PowerShell, and then when the agent will call, it will be triggering one or the other depending on the environment. Okay. So GitHape is an agent calling many agents. Each agent might be calling skills to do the job of composing the architecture for us.
Where you mentioned that one of the agents was the principal architect, does that mean we can get rid of the principal architect in our organization?
That's a very good question. And the answer is nope. You should make them do more interesting thing than that. So that's actually a very important question, is what is the role of the platform engineering team in this organization? Because if you think about it, the platform engineering team, they've been on the water sinking, trying to create modules that keep up with the API for years. And honestly, they forgot why they've been here, because there was so much underwater. Now the reality is, as a platform engineer, as an architect, you will be in the AI world creating the harnesses. There's not a day I don't hear harnesses engineering these days. So this is about it, right? You're gonna write what constitutes the source of information. So what are the guardrails in the organization? How are they stored, and how are they plugged into GitHape or my set of agents? Same thing. How is my landing zone deployed? How do I gather and put this context? How are my templates for the enterprise stored, if that still makes sense? And how do I put it? And then out of that, you create the agents to guide those agents to know that they will do only this through this guardrail. So you see the job of platform engineer changes. From writing module, you write the agents, you write the skills, you write the context, and you make sure that all of this comes together rightfully, so that the business or the developers can have a platform available super easily, like we just did together. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So while we're talking, look at this. It was creating the deployment for me. It's a target environment. So this is my subscription, my tenant ID. This is my logged in credentials. So it's gonna show what it's trying to do. Here I'm logged with AD Here you see that the security tests have been passing, and you don't have to take our word for it. You can go and do the deploy here, and you can have all the files that's showing here. You see the architecture that, hey, I'm going to deploy here the different VNet endpoints and the private endpoint for my key vault. You see that you have the architecture review. You see it's going to deploy resource group, VNet, key vault, endpoint. This is the cost. So $7 ish for the totality. All of this is free, the VNet, etc. And then it's telling me, yeah, are we okay to spend $7 for this demo? Okay, so let's do yes, deploy. So the moment I do that,
could you tell it at that point? Oh, sorry. Deploy it to Asia. I wanted to do it to Australia, or I wanted to do it. Could you at that point, change things about it?
Yes, absolutely. I'll show you maybe in another demo, but you can always iterate. So for instance, you can say, hey, it's too expensive. I want a cheaper option, or I want to go to another country. You iterate with the agent and it will change the things for you. That's another beauty of agent, for instance. Sometimes it fails when I record this demo because there's some quota or some other things. It will actually get the error and automatically ask you, hey, I found that this error is happening. I can fix it by doing that. Do you agree? And then it will automatically fix it for you.
Yes, I definitely appreciate that, because I'm particularly terrible at infrastructure errors. And so when it explains it to me, but not just explains it to me, but fixes it for me, I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, you don't have to think through. I mean, you think about, you need to plug a key vault onto a VNet, right? Creating all the endpoint, creating all of this stuff. We have the WAF framework and the constraints that has been written for it to be integrated without me thinking about it, right? So in the background, what's happening is, you see, we are verifying this. We are deploying in terminal, verify the terminal is working correctly, and then we're gonna run the ARM template to make that run inside my my environment. So after a few minutes, it's going to be deployed. We can come back to that a bit later, but again, it's going to check and troubleshoot all of that. Again, if we go here, you see all the details here a little bit more beautiful, the architecture diagram of what is going to deploy for me. So my key vault, the right VNet, the right endpoint of the VNet, etc. The cost estimate, the parameters, the requirement that were captured by my discussion with the AI, the security gate that is going through, the WAF review that is going through. Basically, you have all the traceability here. So that's what's important for enterprise. It's being able to check what has been deployed here, what's the context, what has been selected.
So all those questions that it asked you at the front, those are the only questions that it needs, or is there anywhere, like you could you have put some existing architecture docs or something in there that it needs to reference as well as a base, or not?
Yes. Yeah. No, that's a very good question. Actually, it will use by default, without doing anything, it will use the Copilot's own memory. You have the memory, the local memory that you can enable and leverage. By default, it's going to use it if it's enabled on your Copilot setup. It will also look at the already deployed architecture. So if there's something to derivate and to do out of it. We are working also on adding scenario. We have something in GitHub called GitHub Spaces that allows you to refer a distant repo with some reference architecture. So that's where we're heading to say, look, force the MCP to check if there's any specific repo containing the enterprise templates and check there first. And if not, go there. So, yep, we are definitely having that in mind.
I think like the Copilot memory is quite a new thing as well, right? That hasn't been around for very long. So perhaps you can tell people how that works and what that is storing.
Yes. So basically, we keep for every working session, sorry, you have a context that you can modify, that Copilot will keep knowledge of the coding style for a project, the set of settings for a project. And it's just a memory file, a text file that is stored on your machine or where you code. And usually we don't even know that it's here. But you can force Copilot to say, look, you shouldn't do that anymore. Put that in your memory, and it will store it for you. You can also access it via agents, but usually it's as transparent as this.
Right, so that's totally local, so it's not being pushed anywhere, and it's your own.
Yeah, it's a runtime. Yeah.
Okay.
Ideally, secrets don't go into the memory. Yes, but that's just a local stash. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're running, by the way, Copilot coding agent in the cloud, which I'll show you in a minute, then you have the same thing. You have a memory there. All right, Michel. So look, while we're talking, here it's telling me this is what I've deployed for you. Deployment successful in 1 minute and 47. It's gonna cost you that. This is what I deployed. This is, by the way, the link to the resource group for you to view what we've deployed. And you can go directly and see that it's not fake. Let me pick the right credentials here. And everything goes according to plan. I should be directed even directly to the resource group. Okay, it is right here. And we can see our key vault, we can see our private endpoints, we can see everything. There's a few tags that we put by default to know that it's managed by GitHape when it was created. That's the name of the project, and that's the environment dev fed by, the tagging is fed by what we put in the answers. Mm-hmm. All right. So actually what it did some integration tests. So here we can even go back and it actually tests if I can see that from the metadata to the control plane, it was provisioned. So we can see that it was provisioned successfully by checking DRBAC, checking soft delete and purge protection were there. We checked that public network access was disabled, and we checked that we were not able to access it. And we check that we haven't added, the records that we need and the private DNS zone that we need for the private link. So it did these checks for me. And now it can even tell me, hey, there's a few things that you might want to do. So here I might say, do one, for instance, grant access to myself. I can add diagnostics, I can add whatever other stuff to do. And it will same thing. It will do the changes for me here. I'm still under GitHape, so it's the same context, it's the same element. So here it's doing it by just adding here the policy in command line. We can restrict that context in future version to say, for instance, I don't want you to ever do that. I want you to always do that with the ARM template configuration for this. So it's all constraint and things that you can evolve over time. And for now, this is how it works. It can change later and you can totally modify it.
That's a huge time saver.
And once you're done with it, you can just go here and you can just say, okay, destroy my test environment. I will just bring down the deployed environment. It will use the ARM template, what we call the deployment stacks, to have like an idempotency, so it will destroy everything I put, the key vault, everything in the resource group. If I put RBAC in my ARM templates as well, it will just do and destroy everything for me. So super fast to do that, super fast to integrate. Even a few Fridays ago, I wanted to try the boundaries of it, and I was taking even the reference architecture for SAP HANA on Azure, and I say, hey, deploy that on my subscription. I give it the architecture center document. It took a few minutes to generate everything, but I was able to get the ARM templates, to get everything customized to my environment.
That's amazing. I love it.
So,
Actually, I really love the fact that it has written all of that architecture and all of the logs and all of the things into files, because normally when it's done stuff and it just tells you in chat what it has done, then it hasn't necessarily saved it anywhere, and you have to remember to either save that somewhere or or be able to go back to that chat in future to get that information, which is not always possible depending on how long ago it was that you had that conversation. So yeah, I really like that it's documenting as it goes along for you.
and actually why we're doing that, because of course it's cool and it's convenient for the user, but remember, in enterprise, we want everything to be documented. We want everything to be traceable, visible from what they've done. So
Yeah.
actually, it's a very good transition, with GitHub Copilot. The idea is that you have your agents, you have your skills, they're all here. And when you check it against your GitHub Copilot environment, here, let me go back to my private test environment. You can see that is pretty much the private version where I have my pipelines that are activated into my test environment. And you can see that I'm having here the same agent. So that's the same GitHape agent, maybe a bit more recent than the public one, while I'm trying wild stuff with it. But the idea is I'm here in my agent HQ first interface here, and I have my agents. I'm under this repo. I can speak again GitHape, and I can say deploy key vault in a VNet in West Australia. Do we have West Australia or East Australia?
East Australia.
East Australia. Okay, that's right. So basically the same thing is going to happen now. We're going to be in a compute environment, which is inside what we call a Copilot coding agent or cloud agent. I don't know what's the current official public name now. And we have this compute environment where it's going to do the same thing that it was doing inside my VS Code. But now it can scale at the enterprise level because anyone will call the agent to say, hey, I want to deploy that. And the advantage of this is, I'm fast forwarding here a little bit. I can show you previously run deployments, but here let's pick AKS HA deployments that I've done before. So it created for me all the files that are here. So remember the architecture diagram, etc. I can see the file here. I can view what was generated. That's my architecture with my managed identities, my subnet for it, my VNet, my AKS cluster somewhere on it, my key vault for it, my public IP that gets on the way from the egress from the internet, and that's my inventory. Blah, 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 all the thing it takes. So I can view all of this, and I get it. After the agent runs, it opens, if I choose to do so, it opens the pull request. And when I do the pull request, I can see basically that all of this coming to life. I can see that here it's did a plan. So before doing anything, when the pull request is raised, it's going to validate two things. Validate the templates locally on my PR, on my GitHub Action environment. And it will run the pull request as well in my Azure dev environment. So for that, we have a local plan and we do a what if deployment. It's a test environment. We have some OIDC delegation that is created by the onboarding process. So there's no secret store anywhere. We dynamically generate a token, authenticate to Azure for just this pull request, and the token is a super short lifetime and doesn't work after that. It just works for this pull request. And we can see that, okay, there's a few things that don't work. For instance, I have here, I don't have the permissions to deploy in the region and in East US, and there's one zones that I'm missing available. So there's this problem, the template didn't work. There is a couple of tags that are missing. There are a couple of security scans that failed. So I run Microsoft Defender for DevOps in the pipeline, and there was a few things that were missing. And here, this is important to show the checks and balances, I would say, or let's say the yin and yang, that you have agentic that goes fast, generate stuff, and maybe the agent missed something. In this particular case, on purpose, there was no Defender for DevOps on my agent, but there is Defender for DevOps on my CI/CD. So there are more things that I catch. I can see that I have the right balance of this is going to be something that fails, but no problem. I can ask agentic to fix it for me based on its feedback, right? That's the beauty of it. So here is my architecture. I have my resource inventory again. I have my network topology that I'll be doing, the RBAC, all the consideration. And here you see, the GitHape plan on Azure was failing because the template was right, but there are some runtime things that we catch, like there's no quota, there's not the right setting, etc. So we failed this pull request. And then basically, what I did is I asked Copilot. So usually I would just go here and ask Copilot, fix this PR, addressing all concerns. That would be a way. Here I just did another demo where I automatically pick that in another pull request. You can also do that to pick it in another pull request. And here we can see that now I have a passing pipeline. And in this passing pipeline, we have now all the things that are compliant. There's still a few things red, but it modified it for me. And now you see that I have my what if planning. So I can see that really when I play that against Azure, it tells me I'm going to deploy that. I'm going to deploy that. And this is the usual experience we want to have in infrastructure as code, right? The visibility of everything that's going to be done. But in the ISC world or in any world of software engineering, I don't want anything to happen before somebody approves the pull request. So the moment I've reviewed that, I say, okay, assign to this reviewer. If this reviewer approve it, and you can specify as many reviewer as you want, as you know, then the moment I do merge, this is where the magic happens. This is where it's going to be deployed on Azure, and same thing. OIDC token federation, get a token to deploy on Azure based on the permission that this GitHape has been set with, and it will run it into a deployment pipeline.
One thing that I'm often stressing to people is that in this world of agentic AI with agents doing so much stuff for you, it is still the case that you own the code, right? When the agent makes changes for you and things are being logged into the audit logs, it says that a coding agent did the work for you, right? So that you are inextricably linked to it, and you can never just say it wasn't me, it was the agent. It was you and the agent. And then there was also Suzanne who approved it as well. And if she shouldn't approve it if she doesn't understand it. She can ask the agent to explain stuff to her, but it can never be the excuse that the AI did it and we're not responsible, right?
Yeah. Again, human in the loop. And remember when you were asking, hey, what's the role of your architect? Well, the role of the architect is now to take better informed decision by the work is reduced, let's say, to now go there and effectively, yeah, reviewing the artifact, reviewing the documentation. It can be helped with Copilot agent. I can request a review from Copilot as well on this. I can add another review bot, like here, for instance. There's something in GitHub, that we have, and it's pretty unique. It's called the agentic workflow. So it's
Yes.
basically like a GitHub Actions on steroids, let's say, because you can ask it to do some agentic stuff. And you can actually have an agentic verification of this by adding all the possible criteria, all the possible things you can imagine and you want to do. And that was pretty hard to do before in the traditional CI/CD world. So yeah, human tech decisions, better informed decision, I would say. So the reality is like they're gonna do more stuff, but they're gonna do more informed decision based on that.
Yeah, sometimes it's a lot easier to review stuff properly when something else has done it for you and put the notes, then you can read it clearly and you can decide whether to approve. When I was doing it all myself previously, and I had gotten particularly frustrated because the infrastructure was not deploying, or something I was trying to set up had some sort of security issue and I couldn't figure out what it was, and it took me hours maybe to unravel all of that and fix it up, then by the time I get to the end point, I'm just like, deploy it. I don't want to think about it
Just
anymore.
go.
Whereas now I'm not frustrated anymore. I can read it through reasonably, I can ask it questions, and I can be sure that when I'm approving it, I'm not taking it personally as my failure to understand the infrastructure or the security. It is yeah, it is, the coding agent has done it there, but it is my responsibility to make sure that what I approve, what I push into production, is correct and is according to the architecture and is as I want it to be. And it's easier for me to do that when it's done a lot of the annoying, frustrating grunt work for me.
Yep. And think about in the real life enterprise, right? You'd have to think about, oh, where's my landing zone and which components of my landing zone where I should log the elements. So remember, I have the log analytics for all my logs. Maybe I'm streaming the event somewhere. All of this kind of stuff. GitHape has the capability that's on the roadmap. So we're going to release it soon to discover the landing zone by heuristics, by checking at the typical landing zone and saying with confidence. So we have, say, 100% confidence, this is your landing zone, and we located this, and this. Or say there's just a log analytics dump here. Maybe you want to put the log there. We're not so sure, but do you want to do it? And GitHape proposes that to you. So that's again, when you are an architect composing that, you have to deal with so many stuff, the enterprise pattern, the landing zone, all the elements that stack together. And I think nothing better than AI to manage a lot of information. So that's the thing that we try to solve here.
Yeah, I was I was thinking today that, like, previously when you're part of a big team, that there was often frustration because people were not communicating all the information to each other well, or maybe it wasn't all documented. A lot of stuff sits inside the head of the lead developer, and in their mind they're annoyed that the rest of the team doesn't know, but in fact the rest of the team is annoyed because it was never properly shared to them and are just expected to know. But with AI, you do expect it to know because it is able to pick up a lot of the information from the context of stuff that you build every day, stuff that you're deploying, stuff that is going on within your organization across several repositories. It is able to glean all that information for itself. It is able to document that stuff for itself. But also, sometimes it makes assumptions based on what it knows that you have done, but maybe this is a new project and you're going to go to a completely new area or whatever, and that's where you as the architect of this have to stay awake and say, hey, wait, no, we're not doing what we have always done. Now we're doing a new project. Don't do that. Let's clarify, let's re-clarify, this is where I want you to go, this is what I want you to do.
Yep. Yeah. And actually, this is also one of the things where we're working for the roadmap, is to how to onboard things that are already deployed on Azure. Because think about it, so many times we have this issue like, okay, this has been deployed 3 years ago, and we don't dare to run the script anymore because it's gonna fail, it's gonna break, everything has changed. So one of the things we're working on is doing the same pattern, agentic, let's say, adoption of something that runs in my cloud. So I have the template, and I can validate that the template is matching the IAC I've generated, and now I can onboard, hence the GitHape onboarding agent previously. I can onboard into this management the systems that are already live onto my environment. I think that's one of the points where IAC has been chronically failed for the last 10 years. We are absolutely incapable of doing that right now. And agentic is the only way that we found working actually very well to do that.
Yeah, so like in modernization, where people were often finding like an old template that did like 80% of what they needed to do, but in fact, when you look at it afterwards, you'll have serious regrets of reusing that, because it just was full of bloat and full of so much extra stuff that you didn't really need, and there's no easy way to unpick that. So you're going to solve all of that for us too.
Yep. And another challenge, Michelle, that you may have seen in some real enterprise deployment is the drift. Because remember, you create your brand new shiny template that does things state of the art, the way it should be. And that's a good plan, never survives day one of battle, right? As we say. So that was the plan. That's deployed. It's fantastic. And then there's somebody call you from the app team and say, "No, look, this config, you need to change it, and you need to change it now on the portal because this is absolutely urgent. And if you don't do so, I'm gonna tell your boss." And so all the human things that we can do in that situation, right? So again, in that situation, what do? This is it seems easy, but it's very, very, very difficult when you do that in infrastructure as code. Because think about it: you deploy something 3 years ago with a code. You deploy something in the portal to change a setting because the app is live, it's not working. You must help. Right? Any resemblance with the real situation is very, very on purpose. And so that happens always, and it's very difficult to keep in touch with the state of the infrastructure and the state of the template of the deployment. Well, not anymore, because again, we talk about agentic workflow previously, and again, that's something that's run inside GitHub Enterprise, and that will do a reconciliation between the infrastructure as code and the template. We go line by line and check everything. So look, for instance, here I can see my templates. Hello World container app dev. I have one drift. I can go to the portal to see what happened. I can see the state, the diagram. But I can also go there directly and I can say, hey, the Hello World, this architecture, actually, we detected that the property is configured in infrastructure as code on port 80. Actual value is 801. What happens? Well, what happens is the container app ingress port was changed from 80 to 801 manually by Arnaud on this day by the portal. And we've been detecting that 18 times since the last time. So what do you want to do? So here, GitHape can run a pull request for you. If you say so, it can say, run a pull request to revert the state to what it is in the ISE. So I rerun the pipeline to apply the target port. Or I can say, and that's the most difficult thing usually, adopt what's inside Azure and modify my deployment to this. So same thing, you raise a pull request one way, one left or the other to adopt or to reset. So I think that's only really for all, living that situation many times in the past. That's itself is already a big improvement.
Yeah, as long as you remember why you changed it.
That's the why come after before we even say who, and here we can clearly see who. It's really traced back from the log and see what will happen. So drift detection is really helping a lot on that and benefiting AI agentic workflow from GitHub Enterprise.
Yeah, I actually I use that agentic workflow whenever I have like a current repo that I'm working on, because it will run once a day and it will remind me of all the things that I still have left to do and all the things I could improve. And it's pretty, I mean, it's neat and it's tidy, but also I could then just assign each of the to-dos as an issue and then assign those to agents as well and have those all knocked off. So it's just really good at helping you keep on top of all your little tasks without you having to do all of those tedious things all alone, and you never forget them, which was definitely a big problem for me before. But
Yeah. No, look, we that's actually what we do to manage GitHape, right? So we use that to manage the roadmap. We also manage it here to see, it's hard to keep up with the contribution on a repo when you have a team working on this. So here you see, for instance, we're using the daily status. That's another agentic workflow that tell
yes,
me, hey, that's the daily pulse. That's one of the default one. And you see, okay, this is what happened in the last 7 days. That's my open PR. That's the spotlight of research of what you do, what you want to do next. So super helpful for repo maintainers as well. As you mentioned, Michelle, super helpful, those agentics workflow.
oh, it's a whole new world that we're living in now. From even like a year ago, it's so different.
So we could go over and over for hours, but I think we can keep that maybe for my third session of the new Breakpoint. I think for now, today, my call is go play with it. So either you install it from, the VS Code Marketplace, as I show you from the IDE. You can install that in your Copilot CLI, Copilot plugin Marketplace, add GitHape, and you do the same thing. You ask the question of what you want to deploy. You can clone it locally, of course, if you want to work on the agents, but that's already enough to get started. Give us feedback. It's an experimental project. We want to go fast, but we need the people to test, validate, see with us what works, what doesn't, and make it evolve over time to really feel real enterprise usage.
No, this has been like a really great conversation, not just about GitHape, but about what platform engineering is becoming in an agent-first world. If you had just one more key takeaway from today, what would that be for them?
Be experimental. Everything we put here is for you to make it work for you. So go there, play with the agent, create your own agent, hack it. I think there's something is really important in this new world. You have to be experimental with everything because we don't know the boundaries of what it can do. So it's really important to have you explore, be curious, hack things, and have fun in the process.
Actually, that's I was trying to close the session, but that is such a really interesting point, because when I was at AI Tour the other week, I was speaking to someone on the floor, and they said, oh, they think it's really sad that the way AI is moving, because what it means is if you're in a team of 5 developers, then management is going to look at that team and say, let's get rid of 3 of them, just keep the 2 who are the best and the most talkative ones, because they can talk to the business and they can do coding. And I said, I don't think that's it at all. I don't think that's the right direction at all. I think that companies that are using AI to do the same thing they were doing yesterday, but just cheaper and faster, are not going to be here in a couple of years' time. I think the companies that are going to survive and thrive are the ones that are doing, as you say, being curious, letting their engineers play with this technology, seeing what they can build, seeing where they can go with it, because they're going to change the world. They're going to change what those companies can build. if you give them free rein to do that kind of experimentation, and they will be bigger and better in 2 years than they were today, rather than gone.
That's what I see, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Arnaud. If you're watching this and it's sparked questions about how your own platform team evolves in the age of agents, then we will have shared all the links in the show notes to GitHape, and we hope that you will try it and you will explore. Arnaud, thanks again for joining us today and helping us unpack what platform engineering looks like in the agentic AI era. We're going to stick around for another 10 minutes or so to answer your questions in chat. But thank you for everyone who has joined us live. And yeah, this has been New Breakpoint. See you next month. Thanks, Arnaud.
See you. Thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed this digital event. We have specialists on standby to answer your questions for a short while. To ask a question, type it into the chat window now and we'll get to it as quickly as we can. If you're not staying for the Q&A, thank you for attending and we hope to see you again soon.